Hello and welcome to Sleeper Mysteries. I'm Nicholas. Thank you for joining me. Find a comfortable spot, settle in, and let the details of a quiet mystery wash over you. Tonight's story is one of patience, a story that begins with a shocking discovery, but whose secrets would lie dormant for 2 decades, waiting for family members on 3 separate continents to piece together a tragedy that time has nearly forgotten. This is the bizarre, still unsolved disappearance of the Narain family. Our story begins on a quiet Friday morning, September the 11th, 1987, in the small town of Woodland, Washington. 3 men were fishing in the Lewis River, enjoying the peace of the Pacific Northwest. But what they found tangled in the debris near the shore was anything but peaceful. It was the torso of a young woman, headless and without legs. The discovery sent a shockwave through the tiny community of fewer than 2,500 people. Police were called immediately. The next day, scuba divers searched the murky river water and sniffer dogs scoured the banks, but no other remains were found. The only clues were the ones the victim carried on her body. An initial report described her as dark-skinned, unidentified homicide victim. The medical examiner determined she was young, likely between 19 and 25, stood about 5'3", and had been in the water for up to a week. Her nails, both on her hands and her toes, were neatly painted red. She wore 2 silver bangle bracelets, a sheer pink 2-piece teddy, and blue-green underwear. There were no scars, no tattoos, nothing to give her a name. Tragically, the autopsy revealed something else. She was 2 months pregnant and had given birth to a child in the past. Just 2 days later, the mystery deepened. 30 miles south, in the bustling city of Portland, Oregon, a man discovered a human thigh floating in the Willamette River. The next day, the other leg was found nearby. The medical examiner quickly linked them to the woman from Woodland. The locations where her remains were found were scattered, but they had one thing in common. They were all just off Interstate 5, the great artery of the West Coast. Investigators were stumped. The woman didn't match any local missing person reports. They even considered the 2 serial killers active at the region at the time, but no connections could be made. The trail was cold before it even began. Then, 10 days after the first discovery, the case took an even more heartbreaking turn. 19 miles north of Woodland, in Kelso, Washington, another fisherman on another river, the Cowlitz, spotted what he thought was a stuffed animal bobbing near a log. When he got closer, he realized it was the body of a baby girl. She was tiny, only 18 to 24 months old, and had been in the water for several weeks. She was dressed in a diaper with pink safety pins, plastic pants, a striped shirt, and pink terry cloth shorts. The cause of her death was a single massive blow to the head. Like the woman found days earlier, the child was believed to be of Hispanic or Native American descent. In a region that was overwhelmingly white in 1987, police felt that it was too much of a coincidence. Sergeant Wayne Nelson of the Kelso Police stated, "It would be very unusual to have 2 Hispanic murder victims found in Cowlitz County waters that are not linked." They were almost certain they had found a mother and her daughter. But who were they? Fingerprints yielded no matches. Early forensic tests couldn't confirm a genetic link. A bulletin was sent to police up and down the West Coast, searching for a missing mother and toddler, but the search came up empty. Weeks turned into months, and months into years. The woman and her baby, buried as Jane and baby Jane Doe, became another set of silent headstones in a forgotten cemetery. Sporadic efforts were made, posters were sent to Mexico, to nearby Indian reservations, but no one came forward. It was as if this mother and her child had simply dropped from the face of the earth. The case fell into a long, deep sleep. The first whisper of an answer wouldn't come until 2003, 16 years later. The Seattle Post-Intelligencer ran a feature story on Washington's unidentified cold cases. The article included a police sketch of the baby girl and mentioned the details of the woman found with her: the red nail polish, the silver bangles, the pink nightgown. And that article, a small story in a big city newspaper, was about to travel across the world on the newly accessible internet and awaken a mystery that has slept for nearly 2 decades. To understand who they were, we have to travel back in time and across the Pacific Ocean to the island nation of Fiji. In the late 1800s, thousands of indentured servants from India were brought to Fiji by the British to work the sugarcane fields. Over generations, they formed a unique culture and became known as Indo-Fijians. In 1963, a girl named Raj Mati was born into one of these families. Known to her loved ones as Lali, meaning little daughter, she was the youngest of 11 siblings. Her family was poor, living in a metal shack on a small farm, but those who knew them remembered a happy, loving home. In 1983, following tradition, Raj's family arranged her marriage to a young man from the village named Ashok Narain. Ashok had already moved to America, where he worked as a tailor, and the marriage was seen as a wonderful opportunity for Lali. Her family remembered Ashok as a normal guy and a good match for their sister. In 1984, 21-year-old Raj prepared to leave everything she had ever known. She boarded a bus with her family for the 5-hour journey to the airport. She was the first in her family not just to immigrate, but to ever leave her home island. At the airport, she cried, knowing she might never see her family again. Her brother, Piran, recalled encouraging Ashok to comfort his new wife, but he just stood there. Raj and Ashok moved to Eugene, Oregon, over 100 miles south of Portland. She kept in touch with her family through letters and audio tapes she sent to her mother, who couldn't read. In her letters, she sounded lonely. She described the strange beauty of autumn, the cold weather that made her buy her first puffy jacket, and the days spent watching television. In 1986, her life changed when she gave birth to a daughter, Kamnee. She sent a small, wallet-sized photo of the beautiful baby back home to Fiji, a picture her family would treasure. And then, sometime in 1987, the letters and tapes just stopped. At first, the family wasn't overly concerned. They assumed a new baby was keeping her busy. But as the silence stretched on, a quiet worry began to grow. By 2006, Raj's brother, Jai Prasad, now living in Sydney, Australia, hadn't heard from his sister in nearly 20 years. Using the internet, he searched for her name, for Ashok, for his niece, Kamnee, but he found nothing. Then, one day, he stumbled across that 2003 newspaper article from Seattle. He saw the police sketch of the baby girl found in the Cowlitz River, and in that moment, his heart stopped. He knew with absolute certainty he was looking at his niece, Kamnee. He read the description of the woman, the silver bangles, the painted nails, and knew it had to be his Lali. He immediately called the Kelso police. They were skeptical at first. Other tips had led nowhere, but Jai was persistent. He flew from Australia to Washington State to give a DNA sample. Around the same time, another man saw the same article. His name was Robert Narain. He lived in California. He called the Kelso police with a chillingly similar story. The baby in the sketch, he said, was his niece, Kamnee. The woman, his sister-in-law, Raj. And his brother, Ashok, had also vanished without a trace back in the late 1980s. In September 2006, the bodies of Jane and baby Jane Doe were exhumed. 2 months later, the DNA results came back. It was a match. After 20 years of silence, Raj Mati Narain, aged 24, and her 14-month-old daughter Kamnee finally had their names back. The following year, Jai was able to bring his sister and niece home. Over 500 mourners attended their funeral in Fiji, laying them to rest at last. But identifying the victims only opened the door to a bigger mystery. What had happened to them? And where was Ashok Kumar Narain? The investigation could finally begin, but police immediately hit a wall. No one had seen or heard from Ashok since the late 1987-1988 period. His brother last heard from him in April of '88. Some reports suggest he was seen around Eugene until the spring of that year, and then he simply vanished. Police searched for every Ashok Kumar Narain on the west coast, but none were the right man. It's possible he was also a victim, his body never found. Or he could be the killer. Alternatively, he might just know something about it that was crucial to the police investigation. A strange clue emerged from Fijian immigration records. A man named Ashok Kumar Narain entered Fiji on May 12, 1988. But there is no record of him ever leaving. The name is incredibly common, so it could be a coincidence, or it could be that Ashok returned to his home country and disappeared into a new life under a new name. To this day, no one knows. Ashok has not been named as a suspect, only a person of interest. The key to this entire case might be something else that disappeared with him. His car, a white 1980 Toyota Tercel with the Oregon license plate KUV 762. Investigators believe that finding that car could finally provide the answers they've been seeking for over 35 years. So, what are the theories? The first and simplest is that Ashok, Raj and Kamnee were all victims of a terrible crime, perhaps a hate crime against an immigrant family in a largely homogeneous area. The second, and most common theory, is that Ashok murdered his wife and child. Perhaps he felt burdened by his family, and after committing the horrific act, he either took his own life or successfully fled, creating a new identity elsewhere. A third theory, often discussed online, is that of an honour killing. Because Raj was pregnant, some speculate that Ashok might have killed her for bringing perceived dishonour upon him, perhaps believing the child wasn't his. However, it's crucial to note that experts and members of the Indo-Fijian community have stated this is not part of their culture, calling the notion an unfair stereotype. And finally, there's the unlikely possibility that Ashok was not involved, but fled in fear after his wife and daughter were murdered. For now, Ashok Kumar Narain remains a ghost. He has been ruled out as a match for 10 different unidentified bodies, but several compelling John Does from that era remain. One, found in Mount Tahoma National Park just 2 weeks after Raj and Kamnee, was a man of similar age and build. Another was found in May of 1988 in the very same river where Raj's legs were discovered, having died from a skull fracture, just like little Kamnee. But without DNA, no match can be made. The murders of Raj and Kamnee Narain are still unsolved. A young mother, lonely in a new country. A little girl who never had a chance to grow up. Their stories slept for 20 years. And even now, awake, they are incomplete. All that remains is a family's grief, a missing man, a missing car, and the lingering quiet mystery of what happened in the fall of 1987. Ashok Kumar Narain would be in his late 60s today. He was described as a South Asian male standing between 5'2" and 5'7", with black hair and brown eyes. In the 1980s he wore a moustache. He was last known to be driving a 1980 Toyota Tercel with the Oregon license plate KUV 762. If you have any information about the whereabouts of Ashok or his vehicle, or any information about the murders of Raj or Kamnee, please contact the Kelso Police Department in Washington or the Eugene Police Department in Oregon. Thank you for listening to Sleep and Mysteries. May your night be peaceful and your dreams be clear.